What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another video. Today we're going to be doing my Premier League predictions ahead of the festive calendar, and you've got, of course, games taking place on Boxing Day on the 27th and 28th of December. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below, including your predictions for this week's games in the Premier League. So we're going to crack on with this video. We're going to start off by speaking about my last predictions that only happened a few days ago, which shows you just how hectic the football calendar can be, that we end up having teams playing literally every 2, 3, 4 days. It can be a brutal schedule at this time of the season. So on Thursday night you had the Crystal Palace Brighton derby. I had that down as a 1-1, spot on, tick. Correct score, very happy with that. We move on to Friday night football. Aston Villa taking on Sheffield United, and Aston Villa had the chance to go top and put lots of pressure onto Liverpool and Arsenal. Aston Villa very nearly lost that home record at Villa Park that everyone speaks about, their solid home form that nearly came to a head. I had that down as a 3-0 Aston Villa win, and ended up finishing 1-1, and in the end Aston Villa needed a 95th minute equaliser to get the point there at Villa Park after Cameron Archer had put Sheffield United ahead. And what you're just slowly starting to see from Sheffield United since Chris Wilder has come in, he's setting them up to be a little bit more negative, a little bit more defensive, but it makes them harder to beat. And the longer you stay in games, the more likely you are not only to pick up them points, but if you've got teams that are under pressure, teams sitting right at the top of the table that need them wins to get the pressure onto everybody else, all of a sudden you keep it to 0-0 and it gets to the 80th, 85th minute. There's lots of pressure then onto the team with the expectation. Nobody's expecting Sheffield United to do anything against Aston Villa. They very nearly came away from Villa Park with 3 points, and I think that's going to be the theme for the next few Premier League games for Sheffield United. They're just going to shut up shop and they're going to make themselves very difficult to beat, and that could be their way to scramble some more points to potentially try and stay in the Premier League, because this week in this round of fixtures you've seen big wins coming in for Burnley, for Bournemouth. You've seen Luton Town beating Newcastle as well, so they need to start picking up points and getting them wins, and the first way you do that is through making sure you're making yourself difficult to beat. So if you're not going to win them games, you make sure you're not losing them games as well, and you just keep the points ticking along. And I thought that was an excellent point for Sheffield United, and I think Aston Villa may be a little bit disappointed. It's not every day you get a chance to be top at Christmas. It comes and it goes. We'll see how Aston Villa respond to that one. So moving on to Saturday's games, West Ham taking on Manchester United. I had that down as a 2-1 West Ham win, finished 2-0. So a correct result there, not quite a correct score. Good win there for the Hammers. Into the 3 PM games, Fulham taking on Burnley. I thought Fulham, they've hitting some form. They've looked good. I had that down as a solid 2-0 win. And Vincent Kompany's men turn up and pick up arguably their best result of the season. 2-0 away win at Fulham. Kudos there to Burnley, showing that fighting spirit. It's dragging the likes of Nottingham Forest now into the relegation scrap at the bottom, and same can be said for Luton. Newcastle, just as their season looks to try and get going, all of a sudden out the Champions League, no Europe, out of the League Cup, potentially going to go trophyless again. I don't think they're going to win the Premier League. They're not going to mount a title challenge as well. So it means they've got the FA Cup only to go at right now. And another loss in the Premier League makes that top 4 even more difficult for them to get into. And a brilliant win there for Luton Town, again showing that fighting spirit and dragging the rest into it. And then you had Nottingham Forest taking on Bournemouth. Bournemouth picking up a cracking 3 points with a 3-2 victory and a hat-trick for Dominic Solanke as well. And Nottingham Forest now just getting drawn into that relegation battle. Of course, Steve Cooper sacked as Nottingham Forest manager. They bring in Nuno, the former Wolves manager, and first match in charge. A huge game at the City Ground and a loss to a relegation rival in AFC Bournemouth. Not a good result for Nottingham Forest. They're under a lot of pressure now. Tottenham Hotspur in the final 3 p.m. game took on Everton, where Spurs won 2-1, and another correct score there for me, and a good win for Tottenham Hotspur sees them go into the top 4, knocked Manchester City out of the top 4 and putting more pressure onto Manchester City's domestic campaign. In the final game of the Saturday matches, you had Liverpool taking on Arsenal, game of the weekend. I had that down as a 2-2 draw, a score draw, finished 1-1, so I got a correct result there. Not quite a correct score. Both teams cancelling each other out. It does mean now, as we're just approaching the halfway stage, so after these next games, if we are going to be halfway through the season, it means roughly we're looking at around somewhere between, I'd probably say about 83 to 87, 88 points to win the Premier League. So is it going to be Liverpool? Is it going to be Arsenal, who sit top of the Premier League on Christmas Day? Is it going to be Aston Villa? Is it going to be Tottenham Hotspur? Is it going to be Manchester City? What's going to happen? A big push in the second half of the season. One team, I'm not going to rule out my team, Manchester City, because we've been here, done that, worn the T-shirt. We always like to have a strong finish in the business end of the season, that second half of the season. We know what it takes to win the Premier League, so some massive games coming up, and Liverpool and Arsenal cancelling each other out, so both of these teams drop points. I'd take the positives away from that, but it's a great point for Arsenal on the road at Anfield, in my opinion. Now, moving on to Sunday's game. I filmed this on the Sunday, as it is Christmas Eve, Christmas Day approaching. This will be going out on Christmas Day. So firstly, anybody celebrating, very happy, very Merry Christmas. Continuing the JSGC tradition since I formed the channel, putting out regular content during the festive period. There's always going to be videos on Christmas Day from me for people to sit back, relax, and enjoy. So Wolves-Chelsea game, at the time of recording this, hasn't happened, so I don't know if that's going to be a correct score or what's not. With the Christmas Eve game, I put that down as a 1-1, so I don't know how I've performed, but from the 8 games that I can make judgment from, 2 correct scores, 2 correct results, 4 wrong, 3 out of 10 for JSGC. Now moving on to the festive calendar and on to the predictions for this week and Boxing Day. All games, by the way, being streamed live in the UK on Amazon Prime Video. In the early kickoff, you've got Newcastle United taking on Nottingham Forest. Forest really struggling. Newcastle need a win. Forest need a win. I think St James's Park could be crucial here. Home form, home advantage. Boxing Day, they'll be well up for it. 2-0 Newcastle win. Moving on to the 3 p.m s, you've got Bournemouth taking on Fulham. I think they're going to cancel each other out, so I'm going for a 1-1 draw here for Bournemouth and Fulham. Bournemouth keeping them points ticking along. Fulham, I don't know. How are they going to respond to a disappointing home loss to Burnley? We will see. Sheffield United taking on Luton. That is huge down at the bottom, and I'm going with a bolder prediction. I'm going with Chris Wilder's men to pick up the win. 2-1 win for Sheffield United, and that will be a huge 3 points, drags everybody into that relegation scrap. You've got Burnley taking on Liverpool at 5:30 p.m. GMT. I don't see anything other than a Liverpool victory, so I'm going for a 3-0 away win for Liverpool against Burnley. But they won the last game away from home against Fulham. Can they respond by coming back to Turf Moor and getting a big scalp against Liverpool? We will see. And on the final game on Boxing Day, you've got Manchester United taking on Aston Villa. Another big game in the Premier League. United really need a response. You feel like Erik ten Hag's job is literally hanging by a thread. So United need to win that game. Aston Villa, it's the type of game that Aston Villa are going to relish. All pressures on Manchester United, really. Aston Villa, they want to be that underdog. They really do. They don't want that expectation. Aston Villa thrive being that underdog, as far as I'm concerned. And I wouldn't rule out Aston Villa picking up the win. However, I think United, they have to do something, so I'm going for a 2-1 victory for Manchester United. Now, moving on to the games taking place on the 27th. Got 2 games kicking off at 7:30 p.m. GMT. You've got Brentford taking on Wolves. I'm going for a 2-1 victory for Brentford, again making that home form count, and another 3 points for Brentford. You've got Chelsea taking on Crystal Palace. I don't see anything other than a Chelsea win here, so I'm going for a typical Chelsea score of 2-0 to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And then finally, you've got Everton taking on Manchester City at 8:15 p.m. GMT. Literally anything could happen in this game at Goodison Park. I think first goal absolutely crucial. I don't think it's going to finish level. I think whoever scores first in that game wins that game. I think Manchester City will edge that game at Goodison Park and they will win by 2-0. Now moving on to the final two games taking place on the 28th of December. You've got Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going for a 1-1 draw in that game, kicking off at 7:30 p.m. GMT. Brighton not been as good, in my opinion, as what they have last season. It's a big game that for them. It's a big game for Tottenham Hotspur. They want top 4. You feel like they're going to need to get that pressure onto Aston Villa, onto Manchester City, and potentially try and keep pace with the title race. May be the best way to try and stay in the top 4. So Spurs picking up a win in the last game, starting to get that form turned around again. Need to try and continue that. But I think they're going to drop points this week. And in the final game, you've got Arsenal taking on West Ham in a little London derby, 8:15 p.m. GMT kickoff time. I don't see anything other than an Arsenal 3 points for me. So I'm going for a 3-1 victory for Arsenal, and Arsenal to remain top of the Premier League and putting the pressure onto everybody else below them. So there we go. They have been my Premier League predictions for this week. Do leave your predictions in the comments below. Also, don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. That would be much appreciated. Do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. That would be great. We're now less than 700 subs away from 33,000 subscribers, so any help towards that would be much appreciated. Also, don't forget to go and check out my social media links. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. They're all in the description. Email it in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And I'll see you all again real soon for the next football video. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well, and for anybody celebrating, I'm wishing you all a very blessed and very happy and merry Christmas. Peace. Ciao for now.